death sentence is what many are pushing for. Let's just hope it's the maximum sentence that the guilty receive from court. But what we know of the case, the finer details of the case, is that Soumya Vishwanathan was chased in her car and she was shot. Was this the reasons of the case, of course, is yet to be established, or the reasons for the murder is yet to be uncovered. But if you have an idea on what was the reason that she was targeted.
It was likely just robbery. It was likely just robbery because, even the murder of another woman named Jigisha some years later, which finally threw light on what could have happened to Soumya, was also similarly, a robbery case, Nabila. And when Soumya in her white, it was a white Alto, if I remember correctly, in which she was chased down that very dark highway near Vasant Kunj, where she lived in South Delhi, it was very likely that it was, possibly for robbery. There didn't appear to be any other kind of motive, even though Delhi at that point of time was known to be a place that was prone to a great deal of crime. Sheila Dikshit, the then chief minister of Delhi, had famously stepped on a landmine. When she was interviewed after the death of Soumya, she had infamously, I should say, she had said, women should not be so adventurous. Talking about the fact that Soumya worked a late night shift and was driving back alone, like hundreds of thousands of people do in this city. And that had, ticked off a huge political controversy, and a feminist anger against Sheila Dikshit. But I can tell you that the murder was likely to do with robbery of some kind. It didn't look like a random crime, especially when connected with what happened a little later. What I can also share with you is that the killing of Soumya Vishwanathan in her prime also resulted in a great deal of change on Delhi's roads. Brightly lit lights, streets. That particular stretch, which was very dark, became well lit a few years later. But let's also remember that crimes against women, especially in Delhi, came back full force just 4 years later with the Nirbhaya case. They're not similar in any manner. This was only a murder case as far as Soumya Vishwanathan was concerned, but it really did sort of rudely awaken an entire city already reputed to be unsafe for women, in the manner in which a young woman just going about her work, doing something as routine as driving back home late at night, to be killed in that manner. So I think this is the beginning. This is still a lower court judgment where the verdict of guilty has been handed down. We'll have to see where this goes. 5 murderers, 15 years later, the beginnings of justice for Soumya.
Right, Shiv, we have the names of those murderers as convicted by the Saket court: Ravi Kapoor, Amit Shukla, Baljit Malik, Ajay Kumar and Ajay Sethi. These are the 5 the accused who are convicted in this case now. They've been arrested in 2009, a year after Soumya Vishwanathan was murdered. She was chased down in her car, gunned down, and it's appalling to even imagine that that the motive was robbery, and these robbers had weapons. They were armed and chased a car down, seeing a lonely girl. They chased her down and shot her. Wonder what they found, but they went absconding for nearly a year. And finally they were arrested. What took the police 15 years to finally come up with evidence, Shiv, if you'd know?
There was a great deal of circumstantial evidence. I'm not going to sit in judgment about the police itself, because they've got a difficult job. They've got a lot of cases to track. So, even Soumya's own parents have been extremely gracious about, the investigation, even the fact that it's taken such a long time, Nabila. But I can tell you that on the day that I went there, on the morning of the day after she was murdered, I remember the car. I'll never forget the sight of what I saw inside the car. I remember seeing Soumya's blood. I remember seeing the remnants of a very, very violent crime. She'd been shot in the head. Bullets had been found inside her head. The forensic examination and the post-mortem had shown, of the entire incident, had shown that she had been chased, like you rightly said, and then shot at. A bullet had entered right above her ear as well. So this was a terrible crime. The kind of fear that she must have felt in those final minutes is something that continues to haunt me even to this day, even though I knew Soumya Vishwanathan for only barely more than a year. But I think the lawyers, the police system needs to be applauded. This is a country that is infamous for slow justice, investigations that tend to go nowhere. This investigation itself was heading into a black hole, where it became a frustrating sort of a series of questions that the parents needed to ask the police, but there had been no real answers. But miraculously, there was this breakthrough when this other terrible crime against another woman actually happened. So all I will say is, while there continues to be grief and memories of Soumya Vishwanathan, I think for the first time in 15 years, after losing their child, her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Vishwanathan, finally get to perhaps begin that journey towards closure.
Truly tragic, and once again, condolences going out to the family. 15 years later, they seem to have got justice. It's still a lower court. Like, as mentioned, the Saket court has convicted these accused, 5 of them, after 15 years now. But will this be maximum punishment? That's the question. India Today continues to track these developments, but justice for Soumya Vishwanathan 15 years later.